Hey, everybody, this is Tony Wisler with Drive Facebook Live. I'm here with my wonderful co host, Dan Vasquez. And on the show today, we don't have a guest, but we kind of do have a guest because Dan is always a great guest, too. And we're going to talk a little bit today about the paperless shop. Um, I consider Dan a bit of a specialist in this area. Anytime we can talk about paperless shops, I want to hear from Dan. So, how's it going, Dan?
Hey, doing awesome, Tony, and hey everyone out there. Hope everybody's doing great on this Friday.
Very cool. So let's just dive right in. Just in case I mean, you've been on the show some, and again, of course, you're one of the co-hosts along with Carla and Bill and myself. So that's cool. But tell everybody a little bit about your shop, where it's at, and how the paperless thing is going. Just a little bit of a overview of this of your shop.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I run a European specialty shop. We're in Northern California. We're in the city of Rockland, which is nearby Sacramento. And I started with Drive as a client back in 2019 to help me take that shop to the next level. And we have obviously increased tremendously since doing that. But yeah, so we've got basically five techs, six bays, two advisors, and an assistant on the front end that helps with parts and other things. So we've got we got some good things going, and part of what helped me to get there was really kind of having that digital mindset, and really looking at how I could kind of streamline and automate all the processes in the business. And so, but the first thing that I had to do was get sign up with Drive and actually learn what the best practices were for our policies and our procedures and our workflow. And so that's been, of course, instrumental in kind of forming the business and how we do things.
Yeah, sure. Because obviously, being digital is more about the medium, right? I mean, you could have a I mean, I joke you could have like if you wanted to use like a tablet and some kind of a, chisel and hammer, I mean, you could apply best practices if that's the way you want to communicate. I mean, it may take me a little, it may take a while, but if you wanted, like, no, I'm not moving off a tablet and the stone tablet and chisel and hammer, Tony.
Right.
Okay, fine. We're going to make baby steps. We'll get you up to, parchment and, a quill and then eventually paper. And then maybe we'll get you to digital. But because the best practices that we teach here, are about just how the best way to run a shop. It's not as much about the medium itself. Although we know truthfully that in the world we live in today, without digital, it's just too slow. Like you can't keep up
Mhm.
with the pace of your customers and the pace of your workflow if you're just having to stop and get your notepad out and find your pencil. Oh, my pencil, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
You know what I was going to say is, I've seen some shops run really, really efficiently, mostly on paper, and a shop can run pretty efficiently that way, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's another thing that we have to consider, which is what our customers want and what our clientele wants and the experience that they're looking to receive. And so, we'll dive into the paperless workshop coming up here in a little bit more later, but one of the things that we started with when we designed that workshop was some market research and what are millennials looking for in their service experience, what about Gen Z, et cetera. And of course, I mean, the world is drastically changing around us, right? It's becoming more and more digital and technological. And so although we could maybe run internally a pretty good tight shop without having to go digital, we're just not going to be able to offer our customers the experience that they're looking for. And I think that we have to take that into consideration as well.
That's a really valid point because you're right. Probably an old school guy could run it on with paper, but it's just going to make it less of a good experience for the newer generations, and what
Yeah,
they want. So let
yeah.
me ask you a question. When we talk about the idea or the concept of paperless, I have to always ask, what was the last like thing that you stopped using paper on? Like, was it like
Yeah.
a repair order or was it like, what was it?
Yeah, so really at my shop we dived in pretty quickly. And luckily, I had a team, and it's kind of funny because even, my technicians, I have an older generation of technicians who you would think might be resistant to change and might be resistant to digital, but they were mostly pretty open to it. And so I felt really lucky that they were. One thing that I really tried to do was sell the value on that going into it. But more specifically to answer your question, I was just kind of leading up to that. It's like we dove in. So like repair orders. I mean, one day we were putting repair orders. The next day we weren't. We just went straight to. There was no baby steps, right? Like once we went over to a digital SMS, it's like sweet, we're using it. We're going to use every feature we possibly can. And so I would love to say that all of the paper is gone, but I found that it's nearly impossible because you're limited to your vendors and the people who you do business with on the accounting side of things. And so I would say one of the last steps towards digital that I finally put into action was digitizing all the paper that came into the workshop through the third party
Mm.
vendors. Some parts receipts, things like that. So for a while we were just, yeah, okay, we're just going to submit to the paper there, and we're going to, organize that paper and file it away, et cetera. And so the last thing that we did, and that was the hardest hurdle, I would say, the hardest thing to conquer was what do we do with all that? And so we got to the point where now we're scanning all that, digitizing it, and no longer storing paper files. And that was one of the biggest ones.
Well, that seems like it could be a Herculean effort if you've got 5 or 6 filing cabinets that you want to, scan all of it. You got, hire some, you know, temp agency guy to come like just start scanning all day long. But if you're in a position where when it comes in and you have a best practice where you scan it like right away and then so it's just part of the day-to-day
Yes.
workflow and the part of the work that goes on a daily basis. Is that how that works?
That's how that works. And so yeah, the latter is the way that we did it. So what I decided to do is not go back and scan years worth of parts invoices into and make them digital because I didn't want to take the time to do that. I just basically put kind of a stop point in there where okay, from here forward, we're going to scan all of our invoices. And that's kind of how we started to do that. And at my shop, it seemed like the better decision. I just didn't want to spend the time, the manpower, the money to do that. You look at the benefit and the reward versus the time invested, and to me, it just didn't pencil out.
Yeah, exactly. Now, one of the things that I think would be difficult for me as a business owner on this subject is if a paper invoice did come on from one of my vendors or something, I would certainly want to scan it and get it into a database somewhere. But then I would have the hardest time in the world actually getting rid of the paper. Like I would be like,
Yeah,
I'd
what do I
still want to go
do?
stick it in a file somewhere. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it was so
Yeah.
difficult. So what do you do once you've got it scanned in, and how much redundancy do you have on all this data? Because
Yeah.
that's my
Right.
fear. My fear is I've got it on a hard drive somewhere and then it disappears one day and we're done. We're cooked, you know?
Right, right. Yeah, so as I mentioned, this is one of the last steps that we took towards going digital. And so we started out with redundancy. We started out saving that paper in addition to the scanned images as well. And one of the things is now with cloud services, talking about like the Amazon cloud, AWS services and different services that are out there. There's so much redundancy tied into those and sure, there's always a chance anything could happen. But from my personal experience, the only time that I've ever lost data is when I tried to manage that data myself, through hard drives and network attached storage like NAS servers, things like that, and I found that, obviously these billion-dollar companies probably have a little bit more invested or probably a little better at it than I am. And
Sure.
so, so I went digital with my SMS in 2018. And there was that fear. Like we never printed a work order, and I never saved a work order anywhere other than in my SMS. And that's 7 years now, going on 8 years now. I've never lost anything. In
That's
eight
awesome.
years.
That's
Yeah. And the only thing that I have lost over the years in my shop is when I was hosting it within my shop. then I had a hard drive failure and lost a small amount of data. So that's kind of in my personal experience. It seems to be, the proof's in the pudding there, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the questions that takes us to a question I was going to ask. Um, we talked about how a lot of customers want to see digital environment, but then the question becomes, if you're not giving a customer like a paper, invoice or repair order or something, how are they taking it? Like, did your old school guys warm up to it quickly, or were they like, can
Yeah.
I just get, or are you using paper for like a receipt or anything like that with your customers when they leave the shop, like when they get their car and they're leaving? Is there something paper there, or is there no paper there either?
So what we do is we give customers the option, and we try to steer them or guide them towards paperless, And so what we
Hmm.
what we kind of do is, my service advisors, they kind of have their lingo that they use, which is, everything just got, as soon as we scanned your credit card, everything got sent to you digitally. You've got a PDF in your email with your receipt. Does that work for you? And some of our customers will be like, oh, are you able to print a receipt? And we'll say, well, of course, yeah, we'd love to do that for you, no problem, And so we haven't, thrown all the printers in the dumpster just yet, right?
Hmm.
Some people, really like they have a folder that they keep in their car in the glove box, and they keep it with them, so all their records are right there. And again, I'm here for my customers, not the other way around. So from a
Right.
customer service aspect, it's like if you want paper, you got it, whatever you need, right?
Right.
But we've found that the majority of our customers, are super happy. They're like, even better, you're gonna email it to me, even better. I don't have to worry about, storing some piece of paper somewhere. So, and I'm sure as the years go by and as the world becomes more and more digital, I'm sure even more of our customers and probably all of them are going to be happier that way.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because for me, there's like a classic ritual that I always want a receipt if I'm doing any transactions, like
Mhm.
purchase, even at a retail store, I get the receipt. And then, of course, the receipt stays in my pocket. And then I find it before I do my laundry and then I throw it away.
Yes, yes.
So, it's but I had it, I got it.
Hmm.
So it's one of those things where people just, I don't know, some people just hold on to that. But, I grew up in the 80s. Okay. So this is kind of all, this has been around for a while, but it's not, I didn't grow up with it. There are people that, my kids have been using, smartphones since they can remember, so it's all natural for like the younger generation. Even people in their 30s now or 35 are like just grew up on digital. So it shouldn't be
Right.
that hard. It's only the old folks like me that are probably like, get off of my lawn, like, so, oh, Aaron Walton says hello to the Drive family. So, hey, Aaron, glad you're here. And he had, what does this say? Does Drive offer any classes on going digital? Yes, we do. And I was just about to talk about that with Dan. So you hit that question right at the perfect time, Aaron. So you want to tell us a little bit about the workshop you have coming up, Dan?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I've got a workshop that I'm going to be instructing. It's going to start on February 27th at 8 a.m. Pacific time. It's a 3-day workshop and it's all about going digital. And we're just going to basically we kind of walk through. It's not the first time we've done this workshop. It's fairly new to our database of workshops, but yeah, we've taught it a few times. It's gone really, really well. And basically, we kind of just go through the whole gamut of what does it take and what are all the different areas of the shop that you can transform, over to and make them digital. And so we kind of just take it from A to Z. And kind of the cool thing is that, there's um, different levels of shop owners. So some shop owners are just really like mostly paper. Some of them have adopted maybe a digital SMS, but they haven't taken it much further than that. And then we have some who are even more, progressed or advanced on that. But so far, what I've found is everybody seems to get something out of the workshop. And that makes me really happy, because it's helping people. And so, kind of what I try to do going into the workshop is get to know everybody, kind of find out where they're at on their digital journey. And then I try to kind of meet them right where they're at. And it's like, okay, well, you've got this and this conquered, so let's start working on this. So
Right.
it's a really interesting workshop, and we can kind of tailor it to the people who are to the attendees who are in the workshop.
Right. Now, I just want to make a quick correction. You'd said that it starts on the 27th. It actually starts on the 17th,
Oh, gosh, thank you. Appreciate that, Tony.
February 17th. So if somebody shows up on the 27th, we won't blame them because you told them to do that. But
Yeah, I'm gonna have to show up now and be prepared to teach it.
and do the workshop again.
Yeah.
No. So it's the 17th is when it begins, which is a Tuesday, and it'll go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And how many days is that class? Just out of curiosity, I don't.
It is a 3-day workshop. We tend to be able to knock that one out in 3 days. Yeah.
Okay, 17, 18, and 19 of February. So that's when that is. And then, well, that's great. And then let's talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts of the workshop itself. There was one particular portion of the workshop that I thought was pretty interesting, and I thought we'd bring it up. And when before the show, when we were doing our show prep, I was asking you about it. And you're like, you were saying that you wanted to talk about that part of it too.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the list of potentially all the different applications you would need to really fully dial in your shop as a paperless shop. And do you have those off the top of your head by chance? I'm
Yeah,
gonna
off
call
the
you out
top
on
of
the
my head,
carpet.
I won't be cheating off of a cheat sheet. Uh, yeah, so basically, what we do is we look at all the different kind of moving pieces in the shop and all the different areas and pieces of softwares that we can use to cover those areas. And what we came up with is that it kind of all starts with the SMS. So your shop management system that really is kind of like that's the core of what we're doing. And so kind of it starts with choosing the right SMS that's going to have the right amount of features that you need to take your shop digital. And then it's also really not just finding the right piece of software, but actually really diving in deep and learning all the different aspects of the software. Because one of the things that we find is people can, you can buy a Ferrari and never take it out of first gear, right? And it's not gonna, you're
Right.
not gonna get the Ferrari experience. um,
No, exactly.
yeah, and then from there we talk about customer relationship management systems, or a CRM as we like to call it. Reputation management systems is another aspect, or RMS. Of course, DVI, which a lot of us are already using, those digital vehicle inspection systems, and then digital
Now,
workflow
most of those are
systems.
bundled with the shop management systems now, correct? Or are there still a lot of aftermarket um, versions of the DVI, or are they all just basically just bundled?
There's a couple really popular, DVI systems that are kind of like bolt-on, so to speak, that a lot of shops are using. One of the things that I was gonna bring up, and of course, I feel compelled to, is that Drive we have our own SMS now, and
Yep.
and all of these things that I just started mentioning, and there's a few more, are all built in, and so they're all in one place. So you sign up for one software package and you've got SMS, you've got CRM, you've got RMS, DVI, everything all in one place that all interacts with each other. And there's a real value to not, reaching out and using a third party and trying to integrate it with what you're doing. I mean, that it works. You can do it that way, but it's you can save, financially by packaging it all together, and then just, obviously, if one system is trying to talk to another third party system, it's a little bit different than having it all integrated.
Yeah, and
And so,
sometimes you got to get IT involved, and something's
right,
not working. It was supposed to
yeah,
download overnight, and it didn't. And when you're dealing
exactly,
with the suite of apps that we have at Drive, they're all integrated in such a way that they just can completely communicate with each other. Also, the other nice thing about the suite of apps is you only just log in one time. And once you're into the
right,
apps, you're into all of the apps. And you can even get to like, and we have a KPI app too, which I don't know that KPIs necessarily are directly part of a subject that has to do with paperless, but we do think that you should be keeping your numbers up to date, and and when the SMS can talk to the KPIs, and the S and the CRM is functioning smoothly with the SMS, and all of these apps are working together. It's just a great experience to have kind of what I like to say simply is you just bring your shop into the 21st century is what it really boils down to.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's a few more. Let me just kind of run through them real quick, and then we
sure.
can, of course, dive into any particulars on them. But digital workflow systems would be the next one, and that's really kind of a term that that Bob Spitz and I kind of came up with when we were doing this, because most SMSs have some type of a digital workflow system. And what we mean when we're talking about that, it's just like the old whiteboard, the progress board that we used to talk about, where you could see the status of each vehicle by going out there and magneting an RO to a whiteboard or writing it down. But most of these SMSs, if not all of them, have some type of dispatching and digital workflow system to where you can see what stage of repair the vehicle's in. Is it waiting for upsells? Is it work in progress? Where is it at? And some people have a good digital SMS, but they're still walking repair orders out to technicians. And so we talk about that and what that looks like to kind of digitize your dispatch and digitize that digital workflow, so that everybody can just see it an instant from their terminal, what status the vehicle is in throughout the process. Um,
And that just screams efficiency when you say that. I just think,
yeah,
wow, this is one of those things that being all digital can do for you. It can create complete efficiency or very close to it, like no wasted
yeah.
time.
Yeah, in my shop, one of the things that I thought about as I was going digital is how do I eliminate footsteps? How do I keep, if a technician is not in their bay working on a car, diagnosing it or installing parts, then a technician is not being efficient. They're not producing money or income for the shop. And so how do we keep the
Mhm.
technician in their bay and not up checking in with the service advisor, et cetera? And how can I, as the owner and the manager, especially at the time before I was stage four, how can I see what everybody's doing without having to even be in the building, right? So to be at home, and be able to look and go, okay, this is every piece of the pie, every piece of the puzzle in the shop. I can see where every car is at along the process. Pretty valuable, really cool. Um,
Really great. And
yeah,
then, you know what would be a good time? Now might be a good
yeah.
time for us to do a commercial break. What do you think,
I
Dan?
think you're right. Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. Okay, so next Friday, it's gonna be me and Tony are gonna be back, but we're also gonna have our other co-hosts, Carla and Bill, joining us. And what we're gonna be talking about is kind of just what we've gained and learned from having hundreds and hundreds of conversations on Facebook Live with other shop owners, and just kind of you know the the leadership things that we've learned, and just how every shop does it a little bit differently. So we're going to talk about the takeaways from all of that, and kind of how it helps us to improve our own outlook on things. So I think it's going to be a really great show as always. Same time Friday at 12:30 Pacific, 3:30 Eastern. And I think that's all we have,
Nice.
right, Tony?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's great. And
Okay,
then, of course, I
sweet.
just want to also add that Shay Hinkle says hello to everybody. Love Shay.
Hey, Shay. Yeah.
Yep, he's in New
Um,
Mexico.
And so real quick, I know that time is flying by. I want to get through the rest of the list of just the different
Fire
things in
away,
the
my friend.
workshop. So of course we have bookkeeping, everybody's favorite topic. And unless you're Chris Probst, usually it's kind of want to talk about that, right?
Chris,
uh, Bookkeeping is fun, right, Chris? Okay, if you're out there.
that's right. It's
So
not math.
no, it's not math.
I think
Um,
that's the
and
slogan.
And then the last few we have is reporting, how you're getting your reports so that you can have your finances, at a glance, and how does that translate to your KPIs. Um, and then we have the text to pay, right? And so being able to send off a text or an email to a customer and get paid digitally without them having to come and swipe their card. And then last but certainly not least would be the playbook. And obviously,
Mhm.
Drive has a wonderful digital playbook that I certainly have dived into with both hands and both feet, and using it at my shop. And I can tell you, it sure beats a paper binder, and it sure beats a bunch of Word documents in a folder or on a Google Drive. It really does.
Yeah, or on a Google Drive or sitting on your desktop somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then the thing about the playbook is if you really dig into that app, it will help you to really get everything in writing. And the key to moving your shop into stage four, you'll never make it into stage four if you don't have every concept, every idea, every best practice, every policy out of your head. It doesn't have to leave your head, but it needs to be at least on a piece, like somewhere. We used to say
Yeah.
put it in a binder, like that's
Yeah.
what Dan's referring to.
I say
Written
digital ink. I
policy.
say put it in digital ink.
That's right. So it has to be written somewhere where your team can find it easily. And you will find that if you have a really robust playbook, that you can walk away from the business a lot easier than if you don't, because you're always, if you're the kind of owner who every single time something comes up, one of your employees, out of all of them, one will come up and ask you what to do, or what should we do here, or how do we fix this, and you're always like imparting information to them. That's where you get to the point where you can't get out. You can't leave. You can't go on a vacation. You can't. So, um, having a robust playbook is just vital to getting yourself to a stage four. Which, if you don't know what stage four means, it's essentially that you're now just taking responsibility for being an owner, and you have a general manager running your shop, and you have the a right amount of service advisors and technicians to create enough income to be able to afford to pay a general manager a salary, and they make sure that the shop runs well, and they just report to you, and that's the report line too, right? If that
Mhm.
is a key to being in a great stage four shop, is the ability for your a manager to be able to report everything that you want to see, right? So
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. And that was so well said. And then the only thing that I would add to that is, as an owner for myself, I would say the playbook was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, steps towards getting me into stage four. And one of the things that it did for me was it gave me confidence that when I left, that everybody knew what my standards were. And so I think
Mm.
one of the biggest challenges for shop owners can be themselves, right? It's like, well, I can't just put this in somebody else's hands. This is my baby. I can't walk away and let somebody else take care
Exactly.
and watch my baby for me. But if you've got a user manual, and I'm doing this like it's paper, but if you've got a user manual on the monitor,
Even the most digital guy I know just can't get away from
can't help
the
myself. Yeah.
imaginary binder that he's looking at right now.
Right, right. Um, yeah, and I know that we're running on time. I mean, I wish I could just teach the workshop right now, because I start to get excited about, all these different things. But yeah, so all we can do is just briefly touch on all of them. But really, one of the biggest things that we do in the workshop is we just look at the pipeline of your shop, and we look at the intake, starting with how are you getting your appointments, from marketing to appointment intake to, the sales team. And we just look at each step of the way through the shop, and we look at what are we doing now, and how could we do it more efficiently using some type of a digital system. And when you break it down that way, it really does make it really simple.
That's great. That's really great. I'm excited about you delivering that workshop. I hope you guys that are listening can make it into that one. Also, just want to let you guys know, we do also have a master workshop for developing shop playbooks, and so I don't have the dates on that one because we weren't going to necessarily talk about that in this workshop. But it's important to know that there's a workshop for that too. So I definitely would like you guys to attend that one when it comes around again. Um, and Aaron is asking if he can contact you directly, Dan, with any questions.
I would love it if you did. I would love it if you did. I love it when other clients and shop owners reach out to me. So yeah, Aaron, if you'd like to reach out to me, is it okay to give my email out on the Facebook Live, or maybe
It's
they can
okay for
just.
if you want to do it. It's your email. You can do it.
Yeah, yeah. So it's basically dvasquez@driveshops.com, and maybe they could put it in the chat as well, just to make it a little easier. But yeah, that'd be the best way to get a hold of me. Just reach out to me via email. We can sync up and have a phone conversation if you like. And yeah, well, I'd love to talk with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. You're really a great help in that regard. And by the way, Dan also teaches the developing shop playbooks. And I also want to give a shout out to my friend Bob Spitz, who's watching. I love Bob. He used to host the show with me, and or maybe it was the other way around, but Bob used to host the show and I was there to help. But he was great, and I'm glad he's watching. So hey, Bob.
Hey,
And I
Bob.
guess we're getting close, huh?
Yeah, I can't believe it. Yeah, I had a feeling it would fly by, but yeah, the exciting thing is, yeah, on the 17th, not the 27th, I get 3 days with some people, and we'll get to talk some more about this stuff. It'll be a lot of fun.
Awesome. So this must be an inside joke, Dan, because Shay says make sure he gives the right info.
Oh,
So did
yeah,
you
I think
give
he's
like
talking
Shay
about
an
is the.
incorrect email address or something?
I don't know. I think he's talking maybe about the 27th versus the 17th.
Versus
I'm
the
not sure.
17th. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's already gone.
yeah, yeah. Now nobody knows which one it
Exactly.
really is.
Keep him on his
17th,
toes,
final
Shay.
answer.
Keep him on his toes. Okay, so I guess we're done, guys. Until next Friday, go out and make yourselves a lot of money. That's my recommendation. So have a great week, and we'll see you guys.
Bye, everyone.